Today, discussion of my topic is implied warranties. So how the implied conditions was important, equally the implied warranties is also important because this implied warranties, as we said, warranty is a secondary or subsidiary to the main purpose of the contract. So also we cannot skip this warranty in a contract of sale of goods. How important the conditions are, also important is the warranties, because then and then we will come to know how to come into the or enter into the contract of sale of goods. So what are the warranties are implied, that means which is already the law presumes that they must be in existence. Now what are the implied warranties we are going to discuss today? Now let's begin with the topic now, that is the first implied warranty of the Sale of Goods Act is the warranty of quiet possessions. So by the very word the quiet, you mean to say that quiet means the buyer must enjoy the possession of the goods, without having any disturbance. Simply it is the meaning it says there. But what's the provisions of the Sale of Goods Act has laid down, that is sections 14 clause B has laid down that in every contract of sale the first implied warranty on the part of the seller is that the buyer shall have and enjoy quiet possession of the goods. If the possessions of the buyer is disturbed by a person having a superior right over than that of the seller, then the buyer has a remedy to claim damages from the seller. This is the provisions which laid down on the sections 14 clause B. Now here it says that the quiet possession, that means quiet means you should have the possessions without having disturbance from any third party. Now this third party is superior in right to the seller. That means what? The third party might be having a superior right than the seller. That means we can presume or assume that the seller might not having the ownership. So it might be belongs to the that third party, or something or the other disturbance is there with the seller, and that's why the buyer could not enjoy the quiet possession of the goods. So then what remedy he can have it? He can have the remedy to claim damages from the seller, but not to reject the contract of sale of goods. Now here we are going to give one illustrations that is very famous also from the point of view of the decisions given by this case, that is Mason versus Birmingham. In this case, the facts are like that. The plaintiff, a lady who has purchased a second-hand typewriter from the defendant, and the lady has already spent some money on its repair and use it for some months. So of course, if it is a second hand, there might be some difficulties or problem might be giving it. That's why she has given it for repair, and she spent some money for that, and after that she was using this typewriter. So this was unknown to the parties. The typewriter was a stolen one, and the plaintiff was compelled to return the typewriter to its true owner. So here the case it says that the hidden fact was there that the typewriter was a stolen one, but it was not aware by the parties. So that's why the plaintiff was compelled or forced by law to return the typewriter to the true owner, because this is also a provision in contract. We got it that when the true owner is there, you have to find it out, trace it out, give it enough time and wait for the true owner to come. That is, the provision is also there that we have to also maintain. So there, hereby in this case it was held that she was entitled to plaintiff was entitled to recover from the seller for the breach of this warranty, that is damages. But here the damage is not merely the price paid by the plaintiff, but also she can also recover the cost of the repair. So two things she is going to get. That is the cost she has purchased a second hand typewriter along with the cost of the repairments. She will get the both. Now, was the first implied warranty on the case of the implied warranty. Now, second type of a implied warranty is the warranty of freedom from encumbrances. This warranty is also required. That is, it must be in existence. Freedom from encumbrances. Now, what do you mean by encumbrances? Encumbrances are such that it may be of a charge, or it may be having a pledge, lease. So these are mortgage. This kind of a mortgage, but we cannot discuss because it is a goods. So goods, so we cannot be given it for mortgage. It is only for the immovable property. So you have to keep it in mind. Something like pledge may be there, maybe charge may be created, maybe lease may be given for this. So these are the things are important to be discussed under here. Encumbrances, at least having some liability, and that's why that goods are having this kind of debts lying on that goods. Now what's the provision says? Sections 14 subsection C has laid down under the act that the implied condition on part of the seller is that the goods shall be free from encumbrances. Now, free from encumbrances or any charge in favor of any third party, not declared or known to the buyer, right, before or at the time of the making of this contract of sale is made. So, this implied warranty on the part of the seller is that you must make the buyer aware about that you have created a charge or encumbrances in that particular goods. You have to discuss or inform it before the buyer, but you have not communicated, or before making of the contract or at the time of the making of the contract of sale you have not made him aware. So this is definitely, if the goods are afterwards found out to be subject to a charge, then if it is found to be of subject of charge means what? So he might have created an charge, that is an encumbrances is there, and the buyer has to discharge the same. So there is a breach of warranty on the part of the seller, and the buyer is entitled to claim damages. Now it is of course that when the charge you have also created, or you have not informed or communicated to the buyer about this before the making of the contract or at the time of the making of the contract of sale is made, then definitely the buyer will discharge the same. That means buyer has to get rid of that, discharging that. He will not having any liability on the buyer, because it is only the seller is liable, and then that is why there is a breach of warranty, and the buyer will be entitled to claim damages. In case of warranty, keep it in mind, the remedy or the prayer you will get before the court only the claim of damages, not the cancellation of the goods. That has to be very much clear on that. Now before we are going to have one illustrations which will make you much more clear on your part. Now see the illustrations. A, the owner of a watch places it with B. So A is the owner of the watch, so he has pledges it with B. Why he has pledges? Because he in need of money. He is a dire need of money, and for some purposes he wanted. That's why he has keeping the goods with the seller and taken a loan from the. Actually, we cannot say it is on this part of the pledge. We cannot say seller, but we will say pledgee. So he will be called as a pledger because he has kept the goods with the pledgee and taken some money, and for he might be saying that it is for some limited purpose. So this is about the pledge. So he has pledged it. So after a week, A obtains possession of the watch from B for some limited purpose and sells it to C. So again he has took the possession of the goods from C and goods from B, and he sold it to third person, that is of C. He said that I need it for some purposes, and Within a week, I'm also going to return it. So, like that, he took the watch from the B and sold it to C. Now, the problem is created on the part of the B. Now, what B can do it? So, B approaches C and tells him about the pledge affair. So, B has approached C because she is the real owner now because he has purchased the goods. So, B has approached C and tells him about the pledge affair. So, he told about the entire affairs of the pledge. He has, described or informed to C. So C has to make payment of the pledge amount to B. Because after knowing the facts, so C has to give the, make the repayment of the pledge amount because C become a owner of the goods. So that has to be liability he has to bond to B. So there is a breach of warranty. So definitely there is a breach of this warranty, that is warranty of, that is implied condition is what? Implied warranty is what? That is free from encumbrances. There is a breach and that is why C is entitled to claim damages from A. Now repayment is made by C to B, but C can recover it from A because it is he who has to bond to B. But the breach of warranty is there, that is why C can claim compensation from A. So this is clear now, the second point of implied warranty. So how important it is. Now third warranty is, that is implied warranty is warranty of disclosing the dangerous nature of goods to the ignorant buyer. So this is also a warranty, that means it is in existence that seller should have, or seller should know about it, should do it. So that is called warranty. It is implied that he has to do it. No need to, tells about this, but it is implied. So that's why we say that warranty of disclosing the dangerous nature of goods to the ignorant buyer. So implied warranty on the part of the seller is that in case the goods sold are of dangerous nature, he will warn the ignorant buyer about the probable danger. So implied warranty is that the seller must communicate what if he knows that goods are of the dangerous nature. So he must warn the ignorant buyer. He must inform, he must communicate to the buyer who is innocent of the probable danger, that from these goods anything can happen. He must say about it. If there is a breach of this warranty, suppose he has not done his duty to inform, to communicate, if he has not done this, he's done on the part of the communication he has to make, but he has not made it, then of course there is a breach of warranty. If there is a breach of warranty, what is the remedy? So buyer is entitled to claim compensation for the injury caused to him. So definitely if the dangerous nature of the goods, if he is not aware about it, then how he can protect himself from this causing of the dangerous natures from these dangerous goods. So that has to be informed. So he has not informed it, that is why he can only claim damages from the seller because the injury has caused to him. Now, to clearing this point, more clearance on this point, we will also discuss one illustrations on this part. So that is called, that illustration is a very important and very interesting one. So C has purchased a tin fruit juice. Instead of that, we can say that C has purchased a tin of disinfectant powder from A. So C has purchased a disinfectant powder from A. A knows that the lid of the tin is defective, and if it is opened without special care, it may be dangerous. But there is nothing to C. So C opens the tin, in a normal way, whereupon the powder flies into her eyes and causes injury. So A is entitled to claim damages for it. Now here C has purchased a tin and it is a disinfectant. By the word disinfectant is a very dangerous. So it should be always, at a distance from your human body, because it is only always used for the insects. That's why. And another fact is that A knows better that the lid of this disinfectant powder tin was defective. So it may cause injury. So, but this thing has not made them aware to the purchaser C. That is why. So when C has opened up this, lid of this disinfectant tin of powder, so it was, normal way, means it's casually he has opened it without taking any special care of, because he do not know the idea about that, how to open it or what is there in that. So that is normally he opened up, and the powder has flies into her eyes and it got injury to us. And how important the eyes is just imagine. And got injury, and disinfectant powder flies into the eyes, when it may spoil, it may that eyesight may go also. So that's why in this case A is entitled to give or make compensations to C. So how the warranty of disclosing the dangerous nature of goods is important, because all the buyers are in front of the seller is always an innocent one. Though there is a rule is there, that is, let the buyer beware. Now this is the discussions for today, and I have completed the implied warranty. These are the three kinds of implied warranties we have as per the provisions of the Sale of Goods Act. So in my next video I will come up with the maxims called caveat emptor and nemo that could not have it, or more important provisions. So till then, you keep watching this video till the completion, or at the end of the sessions. I'm saying that, requesting you till go for this video to watch till the end of this and completing the videos. And in my next lectures will be more interesting, because these are the maxims is very, very important from the point of the Sale of Goods Act.